Hey everybody, and welcome to Database Camp. My name is Sarah, and in today's video I'm going to be doing my April 2022 wrap-up. So if you're interested in knowing which books I read throughout the month of April, then keep on watching. I don't know what that I swear I don't have Tourette's. Not making fun of anyone who does, but I don't know what that little head shake was. Alright, so what did I read in the month of April? I read 6 books in total. I know, wow, I'm killing the game right now. I read 2 nonfiction books, and then I read 4 fiction books. Yeah. And most of them were on like an e-reader. I only actually had 1 physical book, which was Paper Promises. But I'll just start with one of the fiction books that I read. And I actually just got done reading it like today. So, which was, what was it called? And I already forgot the name of the book and the title. No, it was called The Quantum Contingent. And it was by, I want this to be a quick video, but I feel like it's going to take longer than usual. It's by Gregory R. Simpson. So this book, when I read the little synopsis that they had, I thought I was actually going to really like it. I mean, it wasn't bad. I'm not going to say that it was horrible. I'm not going to do a whole rant review on it because it really does not deserve a rant review. But it's essentially a book about this brother-sister spy duo. They're part of a organization called Quotient. And they're essentially kind of like this, you know, this spy agency that, you know, works primarily with the US, but with other countries as well. And they're pretty much, the whole point of the book is like they're trying to take down this group that, let's just say these bad guys, they're called the Contingent. And they are using a quantum computer to kind of like just like wreak havoc in all parts of the world, because they essentially want the cooperation of certain countries to continue this plot that they have going on. And it's very much like, you know, like what you would think of when you think of a spy kind of book. It's a lot of action, but it picks up like in the second half of the book, so there's like more action sequences in the second half. It's kind of is slow going in the beginning, but what I find most interesting though about the book is that the author says that the technologies that he references in the book are actually real or in development. So I thought that was interesting. Since, you know, when you think of a spy movie or like a spy book, I usually think of like the gadgets, you know, you remember Inspector Gadget with all his like different tools and stuff. So, you know, there's definitely a lot of that with advanced technologies. Let's just say they're kind of like, you know, out of this world. So, there's a lot of that, which was interesting. It's just not, it wasn't the book for me overall. I would just give it like a 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't bad, but it was just not the book for me. The Quantum Contingent took me 7 hours and 15 minutes to read. So I just wanted to add that in there. The next book that I'm going to mention is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. This is, I guess, considered a modern classic, I'm guessing. It's one of the big dystopian novels. When people think of dystopian novels, this might be one of them. Most people think of like 1984, that's like the big one. And a lot of people think of Brave New World as well. And so I read that one. I have a whole video review on that one, and I go into detail about certain themes in that book. And Yeah, I did a pretty long form video on that, discussing that book. So if you wanted to get more information about it, then just go check out that video. All right, so the next book I wanted to talk about was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I'm not sure. I really don't know how to say his last name. Anyway, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I'm sorry. All right, so The Alchemist. I read the synopsis about this book and I thought, wow, if all these celebrities have read this book and are enamored by this book, it must be like really good. So I thought, right, this is what I thought. It's not that long of a book. It's a relatively short read. It only took me 3 hours and 30 minutes to read. So the book is about this young man. He's a shepherd and he has these dreams, and they're like repeated dreams that he's having, and he talks to different people about, well, two people about it, and two people in particular inform his decision making essentially, and these two people are basically convincing him to pursue this dream that he has. And so he goes out and he leaves his old life behind in pursuit of chasing this dream. That's basically what the story is about. It's kind of like your hero's journey kind of thing. It reminded me a lot of kind of like Arabian Nights. It had that kind of feel to it while reading it. It just reminded me a lot of Arabian Nights. I've read parts of Arabian Nights. I haven't finished the whole book. I do have it actually as part of my collection, but it had that feel to it. It just felt very folksy to me, which isn't a bad thing, but reading it, I was just thinking, this can't be for adults. Like, I was just thinking, I think this is probably geared toward maybe middle grade. The book, I would say, is definitely for a younger audience. In my opinion, I would suggest younger people read this book, and because it's a relatively fast read, I would say that it is best suited for a younger audience. It just was not for me. And despite it being so popular, I really would just give this a 2 out of 5 stars. I didn't, there's a lot of reasons why I didn't like this book. I didn't like any of the characters. I didn't think the story was that compelling. I felt like it was very juvenile. Again, maybe it is for a younger audience, and maybe that's why, I don't know, I'm like, I don't know what I was really expecting out of this book. I really don't know. But it's a very much like a hero's journey kind of thing, and what he learns along the way. Yeah. I didn't really like reading this book. I'll just say that, like, I didn't. Let's talk about Paper Promises. So this is another book that I did a dedicated review on, and I would suggest you check it out. I go into detail about what it's about, which is essentially like money and debt. If you wanted to get my rating and know more about my thoughts on the book, then I would say go and watch that dedicated review. So next book I wanted to talk about was All the Acorns on the Forest Floor by Kim Hooper. Wow. This book was one of the best fiction books that I read in the month of April. And I was putting off reading this for like literally a year. I had it in my favorites in my reader app, and I don't know why I didn't just pull the trigger and read it, but I'm glad I finally did. And it's a book about moms. It's a book about moms. It's about women who want to be mothers. It's about women who have made certain sacrifice for their daughters, and it's very much kind of like mother-daughter vibes, but mostly it's really just about the process of becoming a mom. And I swear this book is like, I read aloud, and several times I ended up choking on my own words while reading this book. It was just such a emotional journey. Oh my goodness. It's like quintessential woman experience kind of thing. Like, I don't think you could relate to this book at all if you're a dude. I don't think that this book is obviously not made for dudes, but it's one of those books that illustrates so beautifully the uniqueness of womanhood, the uniqueness of motherhood, and all of the emotions that come along with that. Not only the emotions, but like the responsibility that a mother feels for her kids, and that concern never goes away. Like, that's what's so unique about mothers. And it's just there's just, I don't know if there's even words for me to properly describe this book. It's such a great book, and I'd recommend it to any woman, any mother, any woman who wants to be a mother. I would say this is such a great book for women to read. Mainly women. I don't think men would like this book at all, but it could be definitely insightful to some men if they decide to read this book. And it's not like one narrative. It's actually a whole bunch of different narratives, and so you get to see how the characters intertwine and how they relate to each other in this string of narratives, because each chapter is a different character telling their story, essentially. And so it's woven together really well, and it's interesting in that way too, to see how the characters relate to each other and how they're kind of like in the same fight and the same struggle sort of thing. It's really cool how the author does that. My camera keeps on shutting off because it needs to cool down. I thought technology wasn't supposed to get any rest, like, come on. So, yeah, we're talking about all the acorns on the forest floor, and might as well just wrap that up. It took me 5 hours and 40 minutes to read, and as far as a rating goes, you guys, I give this one a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it from beginning to end. It was such an amazing read, and just such a good book. It's a book for the girls. It's definitely that kind of like emotional, crying kind of book. Like if you want to be emotional for whatever reason, read that book and it will make you cry more than once. So 5 out of 5 stars. Love that one. Highly recommend. Next book I want to talk about, and final book I wanted to talk about, was one I already did a dedicated review on, and that is The Woman They Could Not Silence. So last book I wanted to talk about was The Woman They Could Not Silence by Kate Moore. I did a dedicated review on this book as well. It's about a woman who ends up in an asylum because her husband doesn't really like what she has to say, essentially. But if you wanted to know more about the book and how I felt about it and my rating and all of that, I will leave all those links down below, which they should be a total of 3 links because I did like 3 dedicated video reviews on 3 books this month. So I'm gonna do like a grand total of the time it took for me to read these 6 books. So I think it's over 40 hours if I am doing the math correctly in my head. I can't do the math correctly in my head to save my goddamn life, but I believe it is over 40 hours in just those 6 books alone. So that's kind of like pretty incredible when you actually do the math. So I am going to include that in like right here, maybe, like if I can do some magic, it'll be right here. So yeah, those are the 6 books that I read in the month of April 2022. So hopefully you find some of those books interesting and you find my reviews helpful. And if you did, if you didn't, whatever your feelings are, I want to know what they are down in the comments. Make sure to tell me what books you read during the month of April. I would love to know. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.